Russia's President Vladimir Putin's claim to victory over Mariupol has been rejected by US President Joe Biden. He says there is no evidence that the Ukrainian port city has completely fallen. New satellite images appear to show mass graves near Mariupol. Ukrainian officials have accused Russia of burying up to 9,000 dead civilians there in an effort to conceal the slaughter taking place in the city. Mariupol's last remaining holdout is the Azovstal steel plant, where some 2,000 Ukrainian soldiers and 1,000 civilians are believed to be holed up. Now, here's a closer look at that vast industrial complex that has become a symbol of Ukrainian resistance.
The huge Azovstal steel plant seen here in footage from Russian state television. Ukrainian forces are holding out inside. Mariupol has witnessed nearly 2 months of heavy fighting. With much of the strategic port in ruins, President Putin has claimed a victory in the city and told his defence minister to seal off this last stronghold.
I consider the proposed storming of the industrial area pointless. I order to abort it. There is no need to climb into these catacombs and crawl underground through these industrial facilities. Block off this industrial area so that not even a fly can get through.
But in Washington, US President Joe Biden dismissed Putin's claims.
That will not happen. It's questionable whether he does control Mariupol. One thing for sure we know about Mariupol, he should allow humanitarian corridors to let people on that steel mill and other places are buried under rubble to get out.
Ukrainian authorities have also urged Moscow to open humanitarian corridors to allow those sheltering in the heavily bombarded Azovstal plant to flee. These pictures were filmed by the far-right nationalist Ukrainian group, Azov Battalion, defending the plant. The footage shows some of the hundreds of civilians said to be sheltering in the bunkers below the steelworks. But previous efforts to organise evacuations from Mariupol have had little success. Some 100,000 residents are thought to be still living among the ruins. But the dead may lie elsewhere. Mariupol's mayor has accused Russian forces of hiding the true death toll by burying bodies of Mariupol residents in a neighbouring town. US satellite company Maxar released photos which it says show new mass graves in Manhush, west of Mariupol. Attempts to broker a ceasefire ahead of the Orthodox Easter festival this weekend failed.
Unfortunately, Russia rejected a proposal to establish an Easter ceasefire. This demonstrates very well how the leaders of that state actually feel about the faith, about one of the most joyful and important religious holidays. But we maintain hope, hope for peace.
But from the Azovstal steel plant, hopes for peace seem far away. The blockaded Ukrainian fighters say they do not plan to surrender. And there's growing concern that those trapped inside could starve.
Well, DW correspondent Rebecca Ritters is in Kiev, and I asked her for an update from Mariupol and who is in control there.
Well, this is a war, Gerhard, neither side wanting to concede defeat until they absolutely have to. As we know, Russian President Vladimir Putin is claiming victory over Mariupol, but the Ukrainians don't agree. Vladimir Putin really does need a victory to take home to the Russian people on day 58 of this war, or special operation as it is referred to back in Russia. And this is perhaps the victory that he's looking for. The Ukrainians saying that Mariupol still hasn't completely fallen because there are still fighters, those 2,000 fighters from the Azov Battalion and the 36th Marine Battalion hiding out in that Azov steel plant, as you've just reported, and also some civilians under there as well. Their welfare very worried about by the Ukrainian side. So, you know, that tit for tat will go on until Russia is able to take that Azov steel plant, which is expected to happen at some stage. Yesterday, we know that they changed tactics on how they were going to try and do that. President Putin ordering the halting of the bombardment of that steel plant, instead trying to blockade the area so that not even, quote, a fly should be able to pass out of there. So it remains to be seen when, just how long it will take Russia to completely complete their mission there and take all of Mariupol. But at this stage, Ukraine holding out.
And also there are new reports here of suspected mass graves near Mariupol, visible on satellite images. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, shocking reports in Mariupol of some 20,000 people potentially killed. Of course, that number could be a lot higher. The mayor has said, given that figure of 20,000, he's also said that Russians are going around trying to hide the evidence, collecting bodies and taking them to a nearby cemetery and dumping them in mass graves. We're also hearing reports of mobile crematoriums, so literally burning the evidence. They're very hard to verify that information, obviously, as access into Mariupol is almost, well, completely impossible, in fact. But we have seen those Maxar satellite images, as you just heard in that report, that do appear to show those mass graves out in that area near the cemetery. Given what we've seen on the outskirts here of Kiev as the Russian soldiers retreated, other mass graves, other hiding of dead bodies, it is definitely plausible and likely.
DW correspondent Rebecca Ritters there speaking to us earlier. And now we can go straight to Konstantin Eggert. He's our Russian expert and joins us from the Lithuanian capital, Vilnius. Konstantin, Putin has claimed victory in Mariupol. Most analysts and even his own advisors say that's a bit premature. What's really driving Putin here?
Well, Putin, after nearly 2 months of this campaign, which was supposed to last just a few days, Putin still has to present some kind of decisive victory that could be explainable to the Russian people, especially on the eve of V-Day, 9th of May, which is made into the main sort of state holiday in Russia by Putin. And I think that Mariupol, claiming Mariupol, even if he doesn't control it completely, is important. You can then say that Russia now has a more or less secure land corridor between the occupied Crimean Peninsula and the internationally recognized territory of the Russian Federation. I think this is what drives Putin to announce.
So in the early days of the war, we saw at least some protests across Russia. That appears to have completely vanished. What happened? Is everyone in support now of this war?
Well, Gerhard, let's say that they were not mass. They were frequent and had a very wide geography, which is important. But by now, there are still protests. Every day you get dozens of reports of people putting out leaflets against the war or standing in pickets in front of administrative buildings. But one has to understand, since this war, the second phase of Putin's war was launched on the 24th of February, the government enacted quite a few very harsh laws regarding fines and imprisonment for mentioning this as a war. It's called special operation in Russia. So people get imprisoned, people get huge fines, and I think that stymied the protests. I mean, that's quite natural. People are afraid for themselves and for their family.
Now, Vladimir Putin is considered a master of stagecraft. And when you look at Putin's recent meeting with his defense minister, Shoigu, discussing Mariupol, what do you see? What can we read into that?
Well, two things. First of all, Shoigu showed up not in a military uniform, but in a suit. Maybe to fit Putin, maybe just to indicate that, yes, happy holidays, the war is very soon over. And secondly, that is what is being massively discussed now on Russian Twitter sphere, which I follow. It's Putin's state of health, because everyone everyone saw that Putin is clutching at the table. His right arm is constantly clinging at the table edge. Some people say that could be an attempt to control hand tremors, which may indicate Parkinson's disease. But of course, Gerhard, we're not doctors, and speculations about Putin's health have been going on for quite some time now. He's still commanding the operation. He's still tormenting Ukraine.
DW correspondent Konstantin Egger there. Thank you, Konstantin.